limits, man. Okay, calm down.
How did you guys get interviews with people like Abe Foxman of the president emeritus of the ADL, of the Anti-Defamation League?
Yeah, I mean, we actually did about 80 interviews for the film. So we filmed, the film. It took us almost 7 years. It was 6.5 years from our first interview to our world premiere at Big Sky Documentary Film Festival in February. And we interviewed a lot of folks. So the great majority of folks we did not include in the film. We interviewed lots of folks on the center and the right. And so with Abe Foxman, we just emailed him and just said, hey, we're two young Jewish filmmakers. We're making a film on the American-Jewish relationship to Israel. Would you be interested? These are a bunch of the folks we've interviewed. And he said yes. And we sent him all the questions in advance. As you saw in the film, we talk a lot about the conflict. We talk a lot about divisions within the American Jewish community. So it was about what the film is about. And then he signed his release form after he'd done the interview, fully aware of what he said. And every single person signed their release form after they had done their interviews. Abe Foxman has attacked us a bunch, which is fine.
Said that we're fake news.
Yeah, he said we're fake news. He said that we were anti-American Jewish, even though we are American Jews, which was confusing. But also, again, he actually went on JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, attacking our film, and admitted he'd only watched 10 minutes of the film.
Probably his own sections.
Sent him. I'm not sure. I mean, we sent him the film, when it came out. So again, and there's this long pattern that we've had of people again attacking our film without actually watching it or being willing to actually engage with what it's about. But we interviewed people from all across the political spectrum. And Abe Foxman has a right, he can be mad at us if he wants, but he talks with a lot of people. Abe Foxman is a public figure who has done interviews with many, many, many journalists, and we were just one. So he can be as upset as he likes.
He must like attention because he learned the hard way about documentary films. There's this amazing film called Defamation, where a Jewish Israeli filmmaker goes and exposes the ADL, and the ADL is 100% open with him, because I think they assume that a Jewish Israeli filmmaker is going to make a pro ADL film, and he just savages them. So
wow, I actually didn't know about
that. That movie's a classic.
Yeah, it's great.
I've heard it's great. Actually, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, so he must be a glutton. He must just be an attention, like the attention.
We have these figures who are self-appointed spokespeople of the community who, I feel like he probably never misses an opportunity to give an interview like that. Mm-hmm. So I think he's just upset that it so happens to be that it's a political view that he disagrees with. But the story with me, him attacking me when I worked for the Sanders campaign, he just has claimed that mantle as that was what he did is he's the person who says you're kosher, you're not kosher.
Right.
So
will you tell us about what happened with you and Bernie Sanders?
I was hired to work for the Sanders campaign in 2016 as the Jewish outreach coordinator. And 3 days into the campaign, 2 days, I don't remember, it's a long time ago, a journalist saw me at an event, Googled me, realized that it was interesting that the Sanders campaign had hired someone like me. At the time, they were hiring lots of young people from activist groups. And within 48 hours of him writing an article about me, that he wrote another piece saying, Simone Zimmerman wrote, "Ready for this?" I wrote, "Fuck you, Netanyahu," on my Facebook page.
Can't believe it. Fire.
Nobody wants to say, "Fuck you, Netanyahu." Here's my moment to say it again. Fuck you, Netanyahu. That was my offense. There was a whole campaign. Abe Foxman, Ron Lauder, Malcolm Hoenlein all gave statements to the New York Times. Also other kind of older male figures of the Jewish establishment saying that I should be fired. And I was suspended. And then the campaign was winding down and I was fired with everyone else.
Did you talk to Bernie about it?
No.
Interesting.
But I think they were just trying to make the story go away because he had to debate Hillary that night. And, Ben said on the debate stage, there comes a time when you have to say Netanyahu is not always right all the time. So, I feel like in spirit, he was echoing, "Fuck you, Netanyahu."
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because, again, Abe Foxman basically saying, Simone was dangerous for saying F you to Netanyahu, whereas Foxman gave Trump the kosher stamp for years, right? It took him almost 4 years to say that Trump was racist. Over and over again, he was asked.
Interviewed him to say he was racist.
Over and over again, he was asked, "Is Trump racist?" Just basic, not even anti-Semitic, just racist. And Trump is so obviously racist, and he couldn't get himself to say it. He led one of the quote unquote largest civil rights orgs in America. It's like you're supposed to be an expert on civil rights, and you can't say Trump is racist, yet you say Simone is dangerous.
It was his first public statement after he retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
just
to me, it's
yeah.
very symbolic because it's like he did not want there to be, younger spokespeople in the community who have different views than he does.
He wouldn't attack Trump, but he attacked Simone. I mean, that just shows just how just bizarre the priorities of kind of the quote unquote American Jewish establishment are. And it's just deeply sad because, again, you have people who are real dangers to minorities, including Jews, and then they attack our own community just for being progressive. It's deeply tragic.
Yeah.
And that continues to be what the ADL does. I mean,
Yeah.
they regularly go attack activists and Palestinians and people who are less powerful than them, while, Elon Musk wants to ban Palestinians from Twitter right after saying very anti-Semitic things. Sure, all good.
Right, and Musk attacks, like, had this whole very white nationalisty attack on the ADL, and yet the ADL is willing to cozy up to him once he says he's going to ban Palestinians.
Yeah, the ADL, I mean, they're just about Israel. There's nothing about anti-Semitism. That does not motivate them. They just care about what you say about Israel. And they also, again, talk about muddy the waters. They declared Jewish Voice for Peace a hate group. So when they talk about like hate crimes, or they talk about anti-Semitic acts, that is probably includes a Jewish Voice for Peace nonviolent vigil.
It could, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad. I mean, and again, they were criticizing Elon Musk a little bit initially, for his obvious white nationalism and conspiracy theories. But then he began attacking them, and then began embracing Israel, and they've stopped their attacks. I mean, it seems it's quite sad.
Well,
It's
they
very
liked
sad.
it when he said that you couldn't say from the river to the sea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because
And
that
again,
is
and
apparently
our
genocide, according to
exactly.
to
And-
anti-Palestinians. Yeah.
And our film explores that phenomenon, right, of real anti-Semites like Elon Musk. Then again, because they then support Israel, it kind of forgives them. When we finished, editing the film almost 2 years ago, there was a lot of examples of that, but not a ridiculous amount. In the past 2 years, the number of examples of that phenomenon, it is truly wild. I mean, and if we could make the film again, there'd be so much more material to really talk about that incredibly disturbing and tragic phenomenon.
Like what? What examples would you put in?
I mean, there's so many things with Elon Musk. I mean, RFK was the same thing, right? He says something overt, like just truly bonkers anti-Semitic, basically saying that Jewish and Chinese people like designed COVID, right? Essentially implying that. And then, right, the next day says, I'm not anti-Semitic because I support Israel, and a bunch of pro-Israel leaders embrace him. So it's that exact same phenomenon of people actually doing anti-Semitic things, but because they then support Israel, many members of our community essentially forgiving them and giving them a pass.
You've been so generous with your time. Before you go, though, I want to ask Simone, what can you tell people as someone who used to be brainwashed? What are the talking points? What's the hasbara, which means propaganda? Well, it means explaining, apparently, in Hebrew, but it really is shorthand for propaganda. What are the strongest lines that you got growing up, or talking points?
I mean, I kind of think that if you follow American politics or watch mainstream TV, you get the talking points.
Israel has a right to defend themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
Right to
everything
exist.
is. I think. I mean, in some ways, I think the talking points are almost less interesting than what the talking points are all designed to not see Palestinians, not see Palestinian humanity, not see Palestinian reality, not have to actually engage with the existence of Palestinian people at all. So very quickly, if you actually if that becomes within the frame in any real serious way, it's very hard to respond to.
So,
and I think that's kind of what made it all fall apart for me, because these aren't talking points that really engage with if they do engage in the reality, it's well, there must be a reason why we killed them, or they must have done something, right? There's a lot of language that criminalizes Palestinians and dehumanizes them,